Welcome back to Fantasy Sports Today here on SportsGrid. I'm Craig Mish along with George Kurtz. Thanks for sticking around with us for our second hour of the show. Well, you heard it here first earlier in the season. Why does everybody have a hard time saying they were wrong, anywhere? I'm not accusing anybody on this network or anywhere else. It's very hard to say I was wrong. I don't know why. Well, guess what? Here I am. You're looking at me. I'm the same one that told you a month ago that I anticipated several tight ends in the top 12 that were going to take a big leap. No, I was wrong. It didn't happen. Dallas Goedert is the number one tight end in fantasy football, George. Dallas Goedert is the number one tight end in fantasy football. For bleep's sake, Cole Kmet is 3. Cole Kmet. This is awful. What happened?
What happened? You're asking the wrong guy. All right, I was with you, by the way. I thought it was going to be a nice year for tight ends. I did. I thought. I don't know if I would have said we had any, Travis Kelce in his prime. I wasn't going that far here, but I thought Laporta was going to be a god this year. I thought Kincaid would be pretty much Allen's only option to throw to in Buffalo, right? And these guys are. I mean, they're not even on the list. I don't think they were on the list anyway here. No, all right, I mean, Laporta has 17 points. No, he's not on the list. So look at these names here. I mean, likely. Yeah. Does anybody have likely being on this list? Gesicki. All right. Not likely there. That's what I was trying to go. I couldn't quite get the other line there. Zach Ertz. I mean, come on. We didn't see this. We just didn't see this. And I guess it makes me feel better than most things I waited on a tight end. The problem is the guys I have, I'm going bananas in a couple of leagues at tight end. And I generally, because I thought this was going to be a big tight end year, Craig, in a lot of leagues, I drafted 2 tight ends because, I might have a solid tight end, and I drafted like an Evan Ingram. And I go, he'll catch 100 balls. That's a great guy to have as my flex. So a lot of leagues I did that, and I don't have any tight end right now. In both my home leagues, I'm down. I'm scouring the waiver wire. Ty Conklin. All right, I'm all over Conklin this week because he's available. So I'm going to have to play him against Denver, but that's where we're going at right now. Johnson on New Orleans, guys you might have to pick up here. We're going to show Mark Andrews again. I am still salty about that. 0. Not only did the Ravens destroy the Cowboys, but he had 0 catches. He was only on the field for 33% of the snaps.
Wow.
All right, I know the game was a blowout, and maybe that's part of it, but I'll say it again. I have to believe he's hurt. I think it's a part of the injury from last year that he's not fully back from that. And I think that accident, you want to talk about coaches that lied, I think that accident he got into in August, and remember he didn't practice for a while up until game week. I think that was much worse than they let on there as well. I think there was a problem there. I think he can be on the field, but he doesn't look fluid. He doesn't look fast. I don't know what you do. I can't advise you to release him because who are you going to pick up? All the tight ends are gone. So, you can't start him. Yeah, like I said, I have him in one league, and I'm not starting him this week. The problem is, Ingram's the backup. I don't know who I'm starting in that week.
No, it's awful. Throw that list back up, Sam, for a minute. I mean, my other takeaways from this, I guess if another here, I'm going to give you an upside, and then I'm going to give you a downside. Upside to the list is Kittle missed last week with 28.6 fantasy points. So assuming he played, he would have been the one that you would have said, all right, it worked out where I took Kittle. That's the upside. The downside here, yeah, I mean, it still could. He's going to play. He's going to play this week, right? And he should be 4th or 5th. Here's a downside one, George. Kyle Pitts, man, this is it's never going to happen, right? Like this is just never going to happen.
I think it's time we wipe our hands of Pitts. All right, we're done. He's not a tight end one. He's just not. I mean. Maybe it gets better. Once again, I am not releasing him because there's no one else out there.
Oh, of course,
so you have to ride with them. But I think next year we're gonna have to move on. Unless things change over the next 3 months, we're gonna have to move on from Pitts.
Yeah. All right. Let me show you the player that I started instead of Kittle last week. His name is Dalton Schultz. Remember Dalton Schultz? Hello, CJ Stroud. Remember this guy? Big, 86. Throw him the ball like once or twice. 3 games. 7 catches? 7 in 3 games? I understand. What George is going to say, they got Diggs. Come on, man. 7? 1 catch
I've got Schultz in a couple of leagues. I've got him in a couple of leagues, Craig, but as a backup, not a starter. And I think it's a backup to Ferguson, which is kind of ironic since he was with Dallas. So I think Schultz, the writing was on the wall, and there was a lot of worry about him coming in because Collins, Diggs, Tank Dell. Are they going to be at Mixon too, right? A better running back. Are there enough mouths to feed? Are there enough mouths to feed? I was hoping there would be. And by the way, and Stroud hasn't played well. That's another thing that's hurting here, right? Hasn't played all up his capabilities yet. So once again, I think if Schultz is your starting tight end, yeah, you're pretty worried here. In my case, he's a backup. I will move on from him during the bye weeks when I need a filler. I'm not going to hold on to him through the bye week, so I'm going to move on. I don't think it's going to get better here. Well, I think it'll get better. I just don't think it'll be good enough.
Speaking of
that's why I think it'll get better. He'll get 3 balls a game.
Speaking of which, get out the barf bag, folks. You're on the plane. It's up, it's down, it's up, it's down. I started Kelsey. Oh my gosh, here's the barf bag. Oh, are you kidding me? Through 3 games? 8 catches? He did that in the Super Bowl in the first half. What in the world? Is it over, George? Is it over for Travis Kelce with Pacheco, without Pacheco, with Worthy, without Worthy, with Rice, without Rice? Still Mahomes, right? I mean, they're saying that he's being doubled. Oh, he's being doubled. We got to throw somebody else. That's what we keep hearing. I mean, we're going to get into the panic meter with this guy coming up soon, too, so we'll talk about it more. But bottom line, George, 8 for 69 is what this guy did waking up in the morning. And now we are almost a month into the season.
There are a lot of things. Once again, we knew he would be monitored somewhat, all right, that Andy Reid would take care of him because he was healthy for the playoffs. So he wasn't going to play a full complement of snaps. So that's part of the problem here, but we knew that going in. He is older. Father Time does not lose. So that could be an issue as well, that maybe he, he's just not the same player anymore. Maybe he was on the banquet circuit with Swift. Right, and he was doing all that and not really in the greatest of game shape. A combination of all 3, So what are you going to do? You're not releasing. You're probably still starting him, unless if your backup happens to be Zach Ertz this week. Okay, I can see that, or Gesicki for that matter. But you're probably still starting him. I don't see how you're not. I said you'd have to have a great situation to be able to not start Kelsey this week. But you said next week we're going to talk about the on the panic meter. I think we're already there. All right, I think we're already panicometer.
That's a new one for this show.
Technical term for it. I think we're already there. By the way, I think if you own Kelsey, you are already probably steaming coming out your ears.
So basically, next year we're still doing this show, me and you. Hopefully, of course, you never know. It's life. I probably. I am contrarian by nature, so I'm not one of those that, like, when I get something wrong, like I can't go back to the well again. I'll do that. Like, I'm fine with that. That's what I'm about. But I don't think I'm going to do that again next year with tight end. And I maybe it's just the devolving of the position. I'm not really sure. And yeah, look, Brock Bowers has been okay. He's been fine. And maybe he will be the biggest beneficiary with Adams being out this week. But George, I think no matter how you slice it, hoping that we're getting back to, finding another Gates or finding another Tony Gonzalez or finding another Gronk. I don't know, man. I think that ship may have sailed.
I mean, those guys were freaks, so maybe it is for now. I mean, it's also been a big running year, by the way, right? The running game is all of a sudden back in style, which we haven't seen, 10, 15 years. So maybe that's part of it as well. We're not throwing the ball as much here. I said, I don't want to make any vast judgments yet. Maybe it's just a slow September, no training camp. Right? They don't do 2-a-days anymore. Maybe it's just taking a little while for these tight ends to pick up. I have to think October will be better.
Yeah, I agree. All right, let's take a quick time out here on the show. Panic-o-meter. Is that what George said? The panic-o-meter?
Panicometer.
Panicometer. The panicometer. We've created a new word on the show. We'll do that for you next.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night, I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're gonna go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's gonna help me get the job done. There is not gonna be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
By next week on the show, we will have the panicometer graphic. I guarantee you there. We will have, calm, panic, worry, concern. We're going through it all here on the show. George has created a new word for us here on the program. Just like I created a kicker that doesn't exist, he created a new word that doesn't exist. So we're reinventing the fantasy wheel here on the show. We left you with Travis Kelce, so we don't need to spend a ton of time on this because we sort of illustrated what we think. So let's get right to it, George. Your panic meter on Travis Kelce, tight end, Kansas City Chiefs. Are you concerned? Are you calm? Are you worried? Go ahead.
I'm not calm. I'm between concern and worry. All right, I am between concern and worry here. I mean, once again, if you draft him, it's not in round one. It shouldn't have been in round one this year. We think we all knew that, but you're probably talking around three-ish, and you're not getting any production here. Like I said, and as I said, there's nothing you can do. The waiver wire is barren for tight ends. And like I said, both my leagues during these breaks, I was looking because I need tight ends in both. And there's, Ty Conklin's of the world are available now. Gesicki's gone. Ertz is gone. Guys who are being productive are gone. Maybe Johnson and New Orleans you want to take a shot at here. So I'm hoping it's just a combination. It's more that Andy Reid's protecting him, right? That sort of thing. Maybe this, if you want to look on the bright side, if they are doubling him, if he is being bracketed, well, if they see that he's slower, maybe they'll stop doing that. It'll be more one-on-ones for him. Rashid Rice is tearing it up. Maybe they got to start putting that coverage towards him and go one-on-one with Kelce. I think it will get better, but nowhere near what we want it to be. I think we sort of saw the start of this last year. So I'm between concern and worry.
I mean, I'm at concern. I'm not as strong on that because we heard all this last year, and then the dude came in the Super Bowl, and Taylor Swift was there, and he went crazy and had a great game, and it's the tight end position, as we've just illustrated. What are you going to do? There's no one to start. You're going to pick this guy up. What's his name? Elijah Higgins? Who the heck is that? That guy's starting this week for the Cardinals. And as soon as McBride went out on Friday, my social media was blowing up with Higgins. Please, have you not learned your lesson before? I'm concerned, but what can I do? It's kind of like my arms are up in the air, just like Kelce's right there. What am I going to do? You got Kelce. You're going to have to play him. You got no one else. All right, let's get to the Miami Dolphins. Looks like Tyler Huntley is going to start on Monday night. That's better news than it was last week with Skylar Thompson. Maybe not a lot better, but it's better news. Wide receiver Jalen Waddle. What do you do here, George? You calm, panic, concern, worry? Where you at?
Is there another category past panic? Because that's probably where I am. Let me tell you, in my home league, this is the league I care the most in. I have Tyreek Hill. I benched Tyreek Hill this week. Okay, now I am very strong at wide receiver. Let me be the first person to tell you that. My backup, the guy I threw in was Neighbors. All right, he was my fourth or fifth wide receiver. He was extremely strong at wide receiver. So I'm the first person to tell you that. But I benched Tyreek Hill. I need to see something out of these Miami quarterbacks, something, anything. And we're talking about Waddle here, not even the first choice. I don't think there's anybody on Miami I want to start right now, and that includes the chain, the running back. If they can't get anything out of that quarterback position, if there's no respect for it, nothing's going to work here. So I am panicked. I am definitely panicked with Waddle.
Yeah, I am going to worry. I would tell you why I'm not panicking. If you remember when Tua's gone down a few different times and they've used different quarterbacks. Do you remember, George, there was a period of time, may have been 2 years ago, where Waddle was catching 8 balls for 50 yards. You remember this? Where he was like getting like huge amount of target value, but wasn't really making the most of those. I think we're going to go back to that. I am actually more concerned, panic with Tyreek Hill than I am with Jalen Waddle. I think Waddle over the middle is still going to catch balls from Huntley or somebody else, depending on which way they go. So I'm not as panicked as you are. My level is worry on Jalen Waddle, but not completely panicked just yet. And I have Waddle too in a fantasy league, just to be clear. All right, let's get to the Indianapolis Colts. Michael Pittman Jr., really high draft picks for a lot of people on Michael Pittman Jr. this season. He's the only guy in Indianapolis, George, right? He's the only one. Who's going to catch balls? Got to be him. They don't have a great tight end. Don't have great other wide receivers. Pierce, who cares about him? Downs, hurt always. Michael Pittman Jr., level?
It's not quite as high as Waddle, but it's one tier down. We said it earlier. Richard looks terrible. I mean, Pittman himself, I think he's fine. I just don't know if Richard can get him the ball on a regular basis. And that's a problem. Because I mentioned earlier, Pittman's not really a touchdown guy. He's a volume guy. So like you were talking about with Waddle, right? You want they want the 580. That's what you're looking for. And, a touchdown every other week. Or, 1 every 3, 2 every 4, whatever it might be. That's what you're looking for from Pittman. And you're not even coming close to getting that now. I mentioned it earlier. I have Pittman in 2 leagues, benching him in both. All right. I probably don't have better than him. It's not like the situation in my home league, but I'm not getting it. I need to see it right now. I need to see it. I think I'm starting Deontay Johnson over him in 1 league, and I kind of like that, especially this week. I'll give it a go. I need to see it. I need to see Richardson play better, get the ball to his wide receivers, and I just don't. I said it's a terrible matchup this week. That also plays into it. If Indianapolis was playing Carolina or a weaker defense, I would probably take a shot here with Pittman again. But they're playing Pittsburgh. I see no upside here. So I am definitely not panicked, but I'm a strong worry.
Yeah, I with George makes a good point for this week. For this week, it is a worry, and again, hard to even endorse playing him this week. So I think that's definitely a good point by George. But I'm still calm, calm for the season. Like Jaguars, Colts will get their offense going. It'll turn around a little bit. Took Pittman a while last year too. Eventually, he will get it going, and I'm calm with him. All right, let's go to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers running back situation, where Rachaad White, wasn't really a league winner. I don't know that that's fair to say last season, but he was dynamic down the stretch, catching balls out of the backfield, led Tampa Bay in that backfield to the playoffs. It has not looked great this season, George. Bucky Irving's actually looked better than him. What's your level meter, your meter on White?
Panicometer.
That's what I was trying to come up with. Panicometer. George, Panicometer, George.
Listen, on Waddle, this has been a freaking out category. I probably would have had him there. As far as White's concerned, White wasn't all that good last year. He was a volume guy. There was no one else there. He got all the touches. That added the fantasy points. We loved it for fantasy. But, in reality, you look at it, he wasn't all that great. So, yeah, I'm concerned here because you said it. Irving's been the better player. We heard Todd Bowles say it, too, that Irving's going to play more. I think this could be just a matter of time till you want Irving over White.
Yeah. I'm calm. White did this last year.
It's the Florida living, man. You're always calm.
He didn't do much in the first half, then came alive in the second. I got the same thing going on my panic-ometer.
right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. I am ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all people.
What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take, hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Well, if there ever was a known commodity in fantasy football, it is the running back position on the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, look, it's certainly not like the 49ers, okay? Like, let's not get it twisted here. But, you got Patrick Mahomes, and you got passes. You got a lot of flags, George, in the end zone, right? Flag, Kansas City. We know that story. And then you got touchdowns on the goal line. And so those are all going to Isaiah Pacheco this year, right? Well, no. Pacheco's going to miss probably the whole year. So here are the options. Here are the options for the Chiefs backfield. It's ugly. Samaje Perine, who was like a sneaky pick, I think, going into the season, doesn't look so sneaky anymore. Not so good. Carson Steele had 18 touches in week 3, but I got to tell you, wasn't that impressed. Kareem Hunt, he's been activated from the practice squad. So there's a number of different directions that I want to go here. Let's start with these options. Let's start with these 3 options because, George, I personally think running back for the fantasy football playoffs is not currently playing for the Kansas City Chiefs. That's my opinion.
Oh, I might agree with you. I think it's very fair. It's a tough situation for fantasy because you're guessing here. You're just guessing, and I agree with you about Steele was not impressive last week at all. He touched the ball the most. It was 3 yards in a cloud of dust. All right, if you're starting him, you're praying he gets in the end zone. That's really all you're looking for, that he gets in the end zone. If he doesn't, he's just not going to do much for you. And by the way, he missed his sister had her wedding on game day. Don't you know your brother is an NFL player?
Weird, man.
Right, in September.
Wow.
Make the wedding in August.
How did they even have the wedding? How did they even do it? Like, why didn't they just wait? Weird, man. Totally weird.
Do they not like the brother?
And they're watching the game from the wedding? What?
Was that a thing? I mean, maybe that was the theme. I just found that strange.
Come watch my brother play while I toast to the next, 6 months of my life before I'm divorced. Oh no, I didn't say that, did I?
Wow, 6 months. This guy. How long have we been married, Craig? I know I'm 1 year, 23.
20.
I made it.
20. Yeah.
20. Yeah, I'm a 23 and a half. So there we go.
Where are we going here?
I just found it strange. Where am I going? Perine. I think he's the guy you want.
Go to Perine.
Right,
he's not even on the team.
I like Samaje Perine. I think he's the guy. Perine, whatever you like him. Samaje, he catches the ball. That's the bottom line here. Once again, I assume you're playing in a PPR league. If you're playing in a standard league, does anybody play standard anymore? By the way, if you do that, then you probably do want Steele, I guess. But I think Samaje is the guy you want. Now I have no idea what Perine, what I pronounce this guy's name. I'm all screwed up. But I think he's the guy you want. He catches the ball out of the backfield. Touchdowns are going to be hard to come by here. They're running back 3s, and you're still guessing here. Kareem Hunt, by the way, He was on the wave, on the NFL waiver wire. If he had something left, somebody would have grabbed him beforehand. I got to think that. So the same situation with Dalvin Cook with the Cowboys. If he was all that good, he'd be gone already. He'd already be on a team. So I don't expect much from Kareem Hunt.
Yeah. And the reason why I was saying that is, number one, I think they could make a trade. Number two, we have not even talked about Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who is still sitting on their injured reserve or whatever it is, suffering from post-traumatic syndrome. I don't know that he's coming back, but if this is another week where the Chiefs cannot run the ball at all and do nothing, I definitely think he's an ad in fantasy football off the IR. But I think what George just said is fair. P. Ryan looks like the best option because he can catch the ball in the backfield. Steele may be the goal line guy, but like you look at teams that are out of it at some point, running back commodity, who even knows what it really is these days anymore? But I would tell you, where George was right and I was wrong, here's the truth. Cam Akers did not look good last week, but George said this guy's like going to score touchdowns, and he did. George was right. I was wrong. Cam Akers played. He scored, okay? But nobody watching that game would think Cam Akers is good from that one. Who is the Cam Akers right now on some other team that ends up in Kansas City at the end of the season? Is it Ramondre Stevenson? Is it somebody like, no?
He's too good. He's too good.
He's too good. He's too good. Javante?
Mostert?
No, same division. They would never do that. Same division.
How about Mostert? Miami's got right. They got to change.
Miami fell out. Yeah.
If
Miami fell out.
Spears? I don't. That's not going to happen.
Nah.
Javonte Williams? How about Javonte Williams? Oh, same division again. That could be a problem.
Yeah, I just said that. They're not going to trade that help the Chiefs, man. Ezekiel Elliott.
I don't see it. There aren't too many good running backs out there. Don't see it.
Again, my prediction, starter in the fantasy football playoffs, not on the Chiefs right now. They're running back. We'll be right back.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. Brady, I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all season long, people.
What in the world is going on in Miami, Tom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take, hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Simply put, the only way to bet this is over/under win total. I love Tyronn Lue. I think he's one of the 5 best coaches in the league. But my dear friend George Sorless told us to me a long time ago, you can't win if you don't got the talent. Unfortunately, I don't think the Clippers have the talent to match up.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Brian Daboll has been feeling it. He's in a foul mood. He's having stare downs with Pat Leonard and everything else.
John Mara wants Brian Daboll to go and get the next quarterback. They tried to get the next quarterback. We all watched it on Hard Knocks. They couldn't end up with Daniels. They couldn't end up with May. So they said, okay, we'll run it back a year. We'll go get Neighbors, and we'll tolerate.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to Fantasy Sports Today here on SportsGrid. Let's run through the NFL slate for Week 4. And as George mentioned earlier in the show, a lot of bye weeks coming up next week. So this is the final full slate for a long time in the NFL. Let's start off with this one. Saints and Falcons. Boy, when these two teams play, anything goes, right? It could be 9-6. It could be 40-35. I still think, George, Falcons are the better team. I do. I think that. I think what we saw from weeks 1 and 2 with the Saints is a little bit of nonsense. They didn't look good at all against Philadelphia. By the way, Philly's defense, not so great. So I'm all hands on deck with Atlanta this week. I think Drake London is in for me. I'm going to play Cousins this week. Pitts, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not crazy. Bijan Robinson, I think so too. And look, you're going to play the Saints that you have. But for me, what's really interesting about New Orleans, George, is it feels to me like unless Rashid Shaheed catches a 75-yard touchdown, the Saints lose. That's it. Like unless they're going to, and last week, by the way, Philly covered him deep. They did not allow him to get open. It feels like Carr's going to have to hit a big one to win games against at least like decent teams.
Sheed actually dropped one. He could have that could have been a big play last week. For the most part, though, he was invisible after that. Now we have to remember that yesterday in practice, Olave suffered an injury, and we don't really know is it serious? Is it what's going on here? If they don't have him, then who's played much better of late? Then it's just Shaheed or bust. Both these teams, with New Orleans, is like, will the real team please stand up? Was it the first 2 weeks where you destroyed Carolina, you destroyed Dallas, or was it last week where you just said it? That's a weak Philadelphia secondary, and you didn't look good. You just didn't look good. So we're sort of waiting to see which team is real here. And Atlanta is sort of waiting for them to hit their stride. All right, where Cousins feels comfortable. Bijan's getting the carries. London has looked pretty good. Actually, McLeod has looked good too, and so has Mooney. The passing game could be there. Pitts, I think we may have to wipe our hands of him here. I'm with you. I'm going with Atlanta here as well, especially at home. And by the way, I think there's a little bit of a revenge thing coming here too that I keep hearing from one of our producers, Matthias, about when I think Atlanta, New Orleans may have ran up the score last year and they're meaningless when Jameis Winston ran a touchdown in late. So he thinks it's a big revenge game for Atlanta as well.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm taking Atlanta this week. I made it clear. That's where I'm going. All right, Eagles, Buccaneers this week. Philadelphia won, so they're flying high. Tampa Bay lost, so they're low. Oof, this is a really tough one for me to call this week. I don't know who either team is. I know the Bucs are probably more or less what we've seen. The Eagles, I'm just not sure. George, we could give you as much information as we possibly can going into the weekend, but on the Bucs side, we know. I mean, it's Baker Mayfield. Godwin actually broke out a little bit last week. Evans, the running backs. But what can we say about the Eagles outside of Jalen Hurts? I mean, Goddard is a must play right now. The guy's the best tight end in football, but we don't know about A.J. Brown. We don't know about Devonta Smith. There's not enough information at the time we're doing this to give that to you. So this is a job for Joe and Stryker Sunday morning.
Well, we know Smith is out. That was they announced that he's out. So he's not going to play. Brown's questionable. Remember, the Eagles have a bye next week. All right, so they could just sit him again, let him get healthy there. But bottom line is, I think if Brown's healthy, if they think he can play, he's going to play. They're not going to do it automatically, sit him out there, because you just said it. They don't have anyone else to throw to here. I think it should be big games here. Barkley, I think, is going to have a monster game. Well, he's going to get a truckload of touches. Wouldn't surprise me if he's 30+ touches here in this game. Goddard, should be well as all. Remember, Tampa Bay is the one that defeated Philadelphia, ended their season last year in the playoffs. I think they do it again here. I think they defeat Philadelphia again. If the Phillies is not a healthy team here. Tampa, I would like to know what the hell happened last week against Denver at home. That shouldn't have happened. If they would have beat Denver, I feel much more confident in this, but give me the Bucs.
Yeah, and I definitely should have played Dotson with Devonta Smith out. As George mentioned, that update coming on Friday, he is out with a concussion. All right, Bengals and Panthers going up this week. The Andy Dalton Bowl, as they would say. And, I mean, you have to think the same way if you have your players on the Bengals. Now, Jamar Chase had a big game last week. Higgins came back. Moss even got to the end zone. You have to think, George, this is flying over the total. The Bengals are not going to stop Andy Dalton. The Panthers are not going to stop the Bengals. I think this is one of the more underrated. I know that, look, everyone thinks Washington and Arizona is going to be the highest scoring game of the week. I got this one. I got Bengals Panthers.
I'm not going to tell you wrong, because I think this goes over the total as well. What you'd say earlier in the show that the Bengals have the worst defense in the NFL. What happened here? This is a
I don't
Super Bowl
know.
team 3 years ago. What the hell happened? But you're not wrong. How about that? We know Carolina can be scored on as well here, so I think we're going to get a lot of points. You said Andy Dalton, the revenge game here with the red rifle. I think. Listen, there's a lot of fantasy goodness in this game. All right, you're probably starting Dalton outside of maybe a quarterback one league, but a super flex or a two quarterback league. You're starting Dalton. I think he does it again, or at least has a representative fantasy total here where you'll be more than pleased with here. All right, you're going to start Deontay Johnson this week. Leggett is somebody I want to start. Hubbard, you probably need a touchdown, which you might get anyway. And everybody on Cincinnati goes, right? And including Gesicki, by the way, he was a top 12 tight end for me easily this week.
Yeah.
I wish I could get Gesicki in the leagues where I need a tight end. He goes, T. Higgins, and he gets it in the end zone this week.
Yeah. All right. I planted my flag already earlier in the show with this next game, Jaguars, Texans. I think Jaguars show up. I think this is one of the surprises of the week. I don't think they're dead just yet. I know anybody who watched that game Monday night against Buffalo would disagree. But I'm going to say that this is a competitive game. I don't like what I've seen from Houston. It was a lot easier from the Texans to be the sleeper to now the favorite. And that's not to say that I'm not playing the guys on Houston, because I'm going to do that too. But for me, George, I listen, call it intuition. I think Lawrence throws a couple this week. I think Thomas gets involved in the offense. I think Etienne does too. I think they've just had a lot of bad luck. I think they show up this week.
All right, this is the part of the show where it's all about me. Craig, should I start Lawrence or Aaron Rodgers?
Aaron Rodgers.
Come on.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I did.
Come on.
He's playing Denver. I don't think Rodgers has a big game this week. I don't. I think Lawrence has more upside this week.
But Denver on the road is not Denver at home. I know they had a good week in Tampa last week.
I hope you're right, because that's a decision I made there. As for this game, I hope it's a competitive game. I just hope it's not another Monday night game, because I'm afraid if it is, like I said, I don't know if Peterson's going to make it. They've lost 8 of 9 now, or 9 of 10. It's getting uglier and uglier going back to last season. This team's having all sorts of issues, and we really don't know why, because the players seem to be there. The talent seems to be there. They're just not putting it together. I think points are coming in this game as well. I think Houston will be better. They haven't hit their stride yet either. We're still waiting for Stroud and company to really be that team. They got annihilated last week in Minnesota. I think they'll play better. I think they'll win the game. But I do think points are going to be scored as well. But that being said, I have a little bit more confidence in Houston than I do in Jacksonville right now. I sort of need to see this Jacksonville team do something. It's amazing. Remember, they should have won week 1. If Etienne doesn't fumble at the 1-yard line, they do. And everything's gone downhill since that play.
Commanders, Cardinals. The world is taking Washington. So once again, I'm nervous this week that maybe they have a slip up this week. I can tell you, George, that of course you're playing Daniels and McLaurin, and Robinson and Kyler Murray. It's a great fantasy game. All hands on deck outside of McBride being out. But as far as a winner is concerned, George, here, if the Commanders do win this game for some reason on the road, they're a playoff team, man. That's it. I mean, they are heading toward the playoffs if that is the case. This line has been stuck on 3.5 all week.
Generally, a team playing on Monday night that then travels on the road, especially to the desert, right? It's not good. Then I always tell you, generally, it's the home team that pulls this off here. Cardinals are not a great team. This is really the same team, by the way, right? Both teams have issues on defense, but their offense can cook, can score points. I think Cardinals need to get James Conner more involved here to keep that defense off the field. Bottom line is this: you're starting every fantasy player, everyone. All right, if you have anybody on this team, you're not starting them, probably shouldn't have them on your team anymore. I'm going to go with the over as my favorite of the two plays here. I'll go with the Cardinals, but there's no way I'm betting that.
Fair enough. Let's take a quick time out here on the show. Coming up next, more fantasy discussion. After previewing all the games, we still have plenty more to come. So make sure you stay with us here on the grid. And also, don't forget, coming up Sunday morning exclusively here on FST, Joe Pisapia and Matt Stryker. Don't go away.
it's a new era in CFB to start off this year, put on full display.
My take on this game is simple. I know some people will be upset about it. Good riddance to the Pac-12.
Can you do it in terms of the week to week to week?
I don't see a pathway for this team to miss the college football playoffs.
We want to make sure you have those best bets in the entirety of our betting cards.
That was
Lincoln!
But he had that program was already going there!
Only on SportsGrid.
Crew has already clinched the National League. Said they're 2 games behind LA. That being the Dodgers, trying to maybe get the 2nd seed in the National League standings for October.
Both of these teams have a chance to score some runs against these pitching matchups, so maybe another over, even though we do have a playoff atmosphere. And yes, Milwaukee did clinch, but there's still an eye on the prize of we might be able to chase down the Dodgers and also the Phillies to get one of those buys.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Brian Dable has been feeling it. He's in a foul mood. He's having stare downs with Pat Leonard and everything else.
John Mara wants Brian Dable to go and get the next quarterback. They tried to get the next quarterback. We all watched it on Hard Knocks. They couldn't end up with Daniels. They couldn't end up with May. So they said, okay, we'll run it back a year. We'll go get neighbors, and we'll tolerate.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
We've reached my favorite part of the show. It's time now to play a little game of buy or sell. We're going to take a look at the pricing over on DraftKings, help you out in daily fantasy, make your decisions. Let's get it going, George and I, for a little buy or sell. All right, let's start off. Cincinnati Bengals are off to a great start. If winning none and losing 3 is a great start, that's what they've done. You know, I feel bad for Joe Burrow, man. It ain't all his fault. Bengals have just not played well through 3 games. And by the way, I would tell you this, George. Unlike Jacksonville, I'm more bullish on Jacksonville than I am Cincinnati. I know that's going to sound crazy, but like this one, you can't figure out. Jacksonville, I see what's going on. I think I can fix that to get them to 6-11. Bengals can't stop anybody. They are not going to win any games. It's going to be awful. Joe Burrow, this week only, 6,600 over on DraftKings. Buy or sell?
Burrow, as you mentioned, he had a great game against Washington. Great fantasy game. They didn't win the game, but he put up the points, right? Him and Jamar Chase did great. Burrow tried to get T. Higgins a touchdown several times. They didn't connect that. They may still be a little bit off chemistry-wise with T being out a couple of weeks there. They're playing Carolina. I expect points to be coming in this game as well. It's in Carolina for what it's worth there. I would have no problem starting Burrow. I'm not saying he'd be my number 1 quarterback in DraftKings, but or anybody else for that matter. He's the 5th highest quarterback. Murray, Stroud, Mahomes, and Hurts are ahead of him. And I'll tell you, I'm not starting Hurts. I'm not starting Mahomes. And I'm probably not starting Stroud, because I haven't seen much from any of those fantasy-wise, right? Murray, I wouldn't have an issue with. The Murray's $200 higher. I may want to save money. It may come down to me saving money with another quarterback here, but I'm buying here. All right? This is fantasy-wise, right? DraftKings, I'm buying. Burrow has a fine fantasy game.
You got to buy this. Like, it's low time on Joe Burrow. I agree with you. I'm not a big fan of the Bengals. I don't like what I've seen. I don't think they're going to have a good season. I think their defense is the worst in the NFL. I think it's the worst in the NFL. They cannot stop anybody, and it's why they lost to the New England Patriots in week 1 and crushed everybody in those survivor pools. I'm buying on Burrow. 6,600 on DraftKings. Sign me up. Me and George are high-fiving. We're in simpatico on this first one. All right, Bijan Robinson. Oh, Bijan Robinson. He's a superstar in fantasy. Superstar. 7,400 this week on DraftKings. Don't get me wrong. I love the guy. I think he's great. 7,400 this week? Does it seem high to you?
He's 6th. And, well, it's really 5th because McCaffrey, for some reason, is still on this list. Like, he's got a shot in playing. Barkley, Hall, Taylor, Kamara, all ahead of him as far as price. Now, I love Bijan as well, and I've got him in a league or two. He hasn't – we're still waiting, right? We're still waiting. By the way, let's not run a jet sweep on 4th down, Atlanta, okay? So you're still waiting for him to have that big game. Algier does seem to be maybe more of the goal line guy here, so that could take away some of his points there. The bottom line is this. All right, he's 7,400. If I'm going to pay up, and I probably am, I'm taking Barkley at 8 because they may not have anybody else who can do anything in this game. All right, so it might be Barkley left, Barkley right, Barkley up the middle, Barkley catch the ball. So I'm going to pay up for Barkley this week at 8,000, so he'll be my number one running back. I doubt I'm going to spend top money on 2 running backs here. So I am selling that for this reason. I think he'll be okay, but I'm taking Barkley as my number one.
All right, hate to be back-to-back here with George. Like to disagree. Can't do it. One of these games, the Falcons are going to give this guy like 35, 40 touches, like Breece Hall touches, and that's when I'm going to buy in. Until I see that, I don't care who the coach is. I don't care who the coordinator is. I just can't trust it. I'm going to sell. All right, Jets are playing better. Let's give them credit. Seem to be on the right path here. One of the few, if I'm not mistaken, big favorite games this week, right? Against Denver, if I'm not mistaken. Garrett, 7.5. Garrett Wilson, 6,900 this week on DraftKings. George, buy or sell?
Now, Garrett Wilson and Aaron Rodgers haven't quite clicked yet. All right, it's a work in progress. And Rodgers does seem to have eyeballs for Lazard, especially in the red zone here. It makes some sense. He knows what Lazard's going to be, the trust they have between those two. My biggest problem with Wilson's going to be this. Remember Mike Evans last week? Did nothing, right? Nothing. That's because he went up against Patrick Surtain. Guess who Wilson's going to see this week? Patrick Surtain. No way I'm paying this price. Wilson's great, but like I say, you throw in the Rodgers, not quite there with him yet, and you throw in Surtain. No. I'll have much better options than Garrett Wilson. This is a sell.
I'm going to buy. I'm buying the Jets this week. I think that maybe I'll be wrong. I mean, George went to Houston for his big favorite, maybe beating Jacksonville. I don't know if he's going to bet that or not, but mine will be the Jets. That line's been 7.5 all week long. Jets are going to pound the Broncos. Garrett Wilson is going to be a big part of that. I am on buy train for Garrett Wilson. I'm on buy train for the Jets, at least for the time being. So give me a buy there. All right, Chicago Bears offense has not looked great. Let's just keep it what it is. And they have a lot of weapons, too. I see some jokes like Fields would be better than Caleb Williams. Look, I don't know if that's true or not. But Cole Kmet's actually been a good tight end. He's been one of the few in fantasy that you can just say, all right, I'll plug him in. 4,400 this week on DraftKings. George, buy or sell?
I am going to tight end. We know tight ends. We talked about earlier. McBride, no McBride here, right? You don't want Kelsey. Kittle, be a little dangerous there. I think it's between Dallas Goedert and Kmet, who I want this week, right? Goedert's 5,100. Kmet, you could save 700. So it might come down to once again when I'm doing my addition there. What do I got left? Which one can I afford here? I imagine Kmet's going to be that guy because I'm probably going to need that $700. So I am buying here. Kmet's a good, solid tight end. We were already worried about Gerald Everett. He's an afterthought. All right, Williams does look for Kmet here. I'm buying.
Yeah, I'm going to sell. This notion that there's any good tight end for me in fantasy football. Can't do it. I think if I'm playing DFS this week, I'm just reaching low, finding somebody in the 3,000 level. Like, give me Taysom Hill this week, like coming back or something like that. It's desperate. It's a desperate situation. Either way, I think George's points are fair. We agreed on 2 of the 4 this week. And by the way, I probably am on the same page a little bit with Kmet, but I'm gonna pay up somewhere else and pay down for that tight end position that's been a disaster. All right, we'll take a quick time out here on the show. Coming up next, more fantasy football talk. So stay with us as we roll on. We have the fun discussion coming up next with the SportsGrid 60. So stay with us, and we'll get you covered for all of the next news, notes, and information right after this break. Don't go away.
right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. I am ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people.
What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take, hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to Fantasy Sports Today. The big story last week in fantasy football was the return of the Red Rifle, Andy Dalton. He is back throwing passes in fantasy. You know, I think my description last week of this, we talked about this, guys. I would have lost anyway, okay? We talked about this. Am I going to play the Raiders defense against Carolina or Seattle's defense against Miami? I played the Raiders. It was the wrong choice. The Red Rifle went nuts, George. You picking him up in any fantasy league at this point, even a 2-quarterback league?
By the way, I played the Raiders as well. I had the same choice in the league. I think there's another team out there we could have taken as well. So we're both on that bandwagon. Would I pick up Andy Dalton? Yeah. Because once again, if you're in a 2-quarterback league, super flex league, your third quarterback, either you don't have one or he's terrible. And don't you want to keep Dalton, in case he's going to keep this up, which not to this degree, he's not going to throw 300 yards or 3 touchdowns every week, but in case he keeps it up to this degree, well, I want to keep him away from Craig Mish. I want to keep him away from this player, this team, right? I don't want to give anybody else a better team. He's better than the quarterback I have. That's the automatic thing. I'll play defense if I have to. Even if I'm never going to start him, I'll play defense to keep him away from somebody else in the league.
Yeah, I think I'm going to pass. I think this goes the other way. I don't know. I don't see it long term. I will say this. Raiders, don't ever ask me about what's going to happen with the Raiders, George, week to week, because I got no idea. They don't have Adams this week. They'll probably win by 30. Like, easily the most unpredictable team in the NFL over the last few years. Packers, not as much. They've been pretty explosive. They have the most explosive offense in football right now, 27 plays, and 2 weeks of Malik Willis with that, too. Houston, 25, Baltimore, 25, Detroit, 23, Dallas, 23 as well. I guess Jordan Love's coming back to the fray this week, but, man, Packers have to be happy. They have a backup.
They have to be thrilled. And by the way, is this a big-time indictment of Tennessee? You couldn't develop this guy? It took Green Bay one offseason. He's a respectable quarterback. And by the way, Andy Dalton, the way he did, how bad is Bryce Young? You know, that's also an indictment of him as well there. The Packers offense. I'm a little worried this week, by the way, because I don't know, if Jordan Love's going to – how mobile is he going to be? Is he really ready to play here? Or are they just putting him in because it's a big-time division game, right, against a good Minnesota team? So I'm a little worried here about whether or not he should be played. And he's beating the timetable to return by 2 weeks. So, like I said, I'm a little concerned here for Jordan Love and the Packers, but I think they'll be fine.
Yeah, I do too. All right, let's wrap up our show here for the day. Another week come and gone. It's time now for the SportsGrid 60.
Craig, generally when it comes to instant replay, I'm somebody who believes that, penalties should never be replayed. reviewed, right? You should be able to review a penalty for a couple of reasons, mainly because it's subjective. There's pass interference on every play. There's holding on every play. But I do, you watched that Cowboy game on Thursday night, the big face mask call, where they called it on the Giants, but it was really the Cowboys who did it. Something like that probably should be reviewable, to fix that, an obvious mistake. All right. I mean, that wasn't even close here. I said, I'm not a fan of certain penalties being reviewed because I know I ref men's hockey league for 25 years, and I may not be calling something that day. That day I'm letting these guys play, so I'm not calling it. Even though if you review it, yeah, it's penalty. But I already let the other team get away with it earlier, and I'm just decided to let the boys play, which is, by the way, what I wish these refs would do. I am tired of flag fests, especially on primetime games. These refs want to be seen. Flag should only be thrown when you're positive it's a call anyway. Other than that, let it go here. But I'm starting to be convinced more that maybe the obvious penalties should be reviewable, especially 10 yards, 15-yard penalties.
Yeah, I think I want to end the show with a discussion about the end of the baseball season because it is coming to an end this week. But not so fast. Not so fast. How in the world did this happen? We're going to have a Monday potentially doubleheader between the Atlanta Braves and New York Mets. And folks, make no mistake about it, we're going to have to play one of those games. But now there's this discussion that what happens if the Braves win and don't have to play a second game, but only play 161 games in the Major League Baseball season? Oy vey, what have you done? Now, it's going to be fun for all of us to watch these games on Monday because we'll have some more fun in addition to Sunday football and Monday Night Football. We get some baseball as well. But hope you stuck with us throughout the fantasy baseball season too. We had a really fun time, I think, George and I going over everyone. And naturally, after the new year, we'll dive back into that again. All right, George, good luck this week with your teams and your leagues. We'll see you again next week.
To you as well, Craig. Good luck to everybody in week 4.
All right, that'll do it for the show. Thanks to our producer, Sam. I'm Craig Mish, and that'll do it for this edition of Fantasy Sports Today. We'll see you next week for our next edition of the show. Enjoy all the college football on Saturday and the NFL on Sunday. See you next week.
It's a new era in CFB to start off this year, put on full display.
My take on this game is simple. I know some people will be upset about it. Good riddance to the Pac-12.
Can you do it in terms of the week to week to week?
I don't see a pathway for this team to miss the college football playoffs.
We want to make sure you have those best bets in the entirety of our betting cards.
That was
Lincoln!
But he had that program was only going there.
Only on SportsGrid.
Crew has already clinched the National League Central. They're 2 games behind LA, that being the Dodgers, trying to maybe get the 2nd seed in the National League standings for October.
Both of these teams have a chance to score some runs against these pitching matchups, so maybe another over, even though we do have a playoff atmosphere. And yes, Milwaukee did clinch, but there's still an eye on the prize of we might be able to chase down the Dodgers and also the Phillies to get one of those buys.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Brian Dable has been feeling it. He's in a foul mood. He's having stare downs with Pat Leonard and everything else.
John Mara wants Brian Dable to go and get the next quarterback. They tried to get the next quarterback. We all watched it on Hard Knocks. They couldn't end up with Daniels. They couldn't end up with May. So they said, okay, we'll run it back a year. We'll go get Neighbors, and we'll tolerate